Hello, honeys. This is the November 5-Minute Musical, and we will be talking today only about November Rain by Guns N' Roses. I know I originally promised to do a bit of a blend of The Neighborhood Sweater Weather, Cardigan by Taylor Swift, and SZA's November as well, but it turns out that that is simply too much music video for one of these episodes. And so, with no further ado, here is Guns N' Roses' November Rain. Following the band's 1987 Appetite for Destruction became the biggest selling debut album in US history, Guns N' Roses was looking for their next big splash, so they planned the release of 2 double albums on the same day, September 17th, 1991, Use Your Illusion, Volumes 1 and 2. Our sources argue that that particular song out of both of these albums was so successful in part because it was so different from their debut. Quote, here they left their raunchy rock persona to reveal a hitherto unexpected sensitivity. Musically, the song was an opulent take on the piano balladry of mid-70s Elton John, supercharged by a passionate vocal from Rose, a massive sounding string arrangement, and soaring guitar solo, end quote. In fact, it's been speculated that Elton John's Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding from 1973's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road was a major influence on November Rain. And Axl Rose himself confirmed that impact when the Guns N' Roses singer inducted the British icon into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994, claiming, quote, for myself as well as others, no one has been there more for inspiration than Elton John. When I first heard Benny and the Jets, I knew I had to be a performer, end quote. But November Rain was years in the making. Axl even made it clear to Rolling Stone back in 1988 how much the song meant to him, suggesting, quote, if it's not recorded right, I'll quit the business, end quote, and proved that claim by making multiple attempts to record it during demo sessions prior to 1991. Even former Guns N' Roses guitarist Tracy Guns confirmed that Rose had been working on the song for many years, even in 1983 when interviewed by Music Enthusiast. Our sources write, quote, legend has it that one version Rose worked on was 18 minutes long. Eventually, he pared the song down and added a painstakingly written arrangement, after which it was deemed ready, end quote. And that arrangement, so expansive with orchestral elements like pianos and strings, results in a sort of sonic grandeur and epicness that mirrors and amplifies the emotions explored here. Which brings us to that unforgettable video, one of the most expensive ever made at 1.5 million US dollars and a brief record holder at that price, as well as one of MTV's most requested videos of all time. It won MTV's award for Best Cinematography in a Video in 1992 and was nominated the same year for Best Art Direction in a Video. It reached 1 billion streams on YouTube in 2018, then became the very first rock video from the 90s to surpass 2 billion views on YouTube in February 2023. The video, directed by Andrew Morahan, according to IMDb, is based on the short story Without You by Del James, which was published for the first time in his 1999 book, The Language of Fear. The plot of it centers on a rock star grieving over the death of his on-again, off-again girlfriend who has committed suicide. And after James wrote his short story and showed it to Rose, the singer wrote his own version of the song, which became Estranged. And in a wink-wink sort of gesture, the final 2 words of the final verse are, in that song, Without You. It's been argued, though, that this musical/video version was actually inspired by Rose's troubled relationship with Aaron Everly. Yet, the connection between song and story is undeniable. In fact, quote, before the Illusions albums came out, there was talk of actually developing Without You into a full-length feature movie, but due to logistics, that hasn't been able to be a reality. Quote, so what happened is that there's like a kind of condensed version of the story and the visuals, end quote, says James himself. November Rain's leading lady, Stephanie Seymour and Axl Rose got together during filming for Don't Cry, but they broke up in 1993 before they started filming Estranged, the third of this video trilogy featuring November Rain as well. So in Estranged, we see dolphins and other surreal moments instead. As for the filming itself, according to American songwriter, Morahan just decided to keep the band going all night during shooting after experiencing serious issues getting them to show for daytime shoots, playing to their more rocker sleep schedules. Still, they'd leave set some days with little to no footage shot. This resulted in some continuity errors, like Rose standing by a gravesite at night even though the funeral is in the daylight, and happy accidents, like Slash strutting out of the church for a smoke break in the middle of the wedding scene. And some memorable awesomeness, like Slash playing the first guitar solo in a sequence of helicopter shots swooping around him. As I suggested, the narrative kind of jumps around here as Rose wakes up in a dark bedroom, pops some pills, then we cut to a live concert with a full orchestra, then cut back and forth between that, a guy tossing and turning in his bed, good times featuring the gang, and the desert church/wedding scenes, and eventually funeral scenes as well. Rather than lining up perfectly with the sequence of Without You, November Rain shows certain scenes that reference different parts of the story. And Jen Dahl, writing for The Cut, notes that the over-the-top nature of the video really plays up certain tropes along the way. Quote, Stephanie Seymour is clad in a mullet of a dress that's a mini in the front and business in the back. Axel is the groom in a gold brocade Liberace-esque suit. There's humor to temper the decadence, a kind of goofy play you don't expect. The priest looks like Joe Pesci in a toupee. When Slash can't find the rings, Duff saves the day. He's had them on his leather-gloved pinky the whole time, end quote. But again, we also have this shirtless solo by Slash in the desert, a reception at a quote-unquote Italian villa where the new bride notably wears a long black dress, and then the mid-dance disaster of rain coming down on all the guests who panic big time, and then we're back in the church for the bride's funeral. As for what it all means, Daniel Pearl, one of the two cinematographers on the project, argues in a Los Angeles Times conversation that, quote, November Rain's elliptical quality is part of what makes it so successful. Music videos need to be a bit obtuse, have a bit of complexity in them so that as you watch it a third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, you're getting something new, end quote. And if the song is about Axel and Everly, it makes sense for there to be some emotional roller coaster here because their intense love affair was very much marked by its highs and lows. The biggest remaining mystery of November Rain, however, is how Seymour's character died. The cause has never actually been confirmed by anyone, but James and Rose's comments during the November Rain Make Effing Videos documentary insinuate that she died the same way Elizabeth did in Without You, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The mirror in the casket in the video also supports this reasoning, as split caskets are often used when the deceased person sustained head trauma, end quote. Dahl, for The Cut, however, focuses on the event of the wedding itself and potential messages there in her analysis. Quote, from the ridiculous performative ceremony to the ruined cake, Guns N' Roses seem to have known quite a lot about the tyranny of the wedding industrial complex, how this thing supposedly about love is also about patriarchy and capitalism and long-held expectations and the shoulder-crushing weight of our many unspoken disappointments, end quote. This disappointment, I think, is best captured by the bride's face falling after she climbs into the getaway car right after the ceremony. She immediately looks regretful of the decision to marry as she looks at her new husband. In that way, the song and video also get into the potentially uncomfortable parts of marriage via the messy and the short lifespan of this couple. Dahl goes on to write that Mr. Wedding Cake Jumper, quote, is every person planning a wedding at one point or another. It doesn't go perfectly, disasters occur, things get wet, but he lands on the other side, end quote, and with any other ending besides a funeral, this music video could be seen as an inspiring rejection of all that fuss. Which brings us to the song and video's reception and legacy. The Use Your Illusion albums were immediate hits, selling more than 14 million copies combined and claiming the top 2 spots in the Billboard 200 album chart. November Rain became the centerpiece and star, of course, reaching number 3 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 4 in the UK when released as a single. It also represented a genuine creative progression for the band. Quote, the 30 tracks across the 2 albums represented a newfound maturity and a much broader range of music, end quote. However, November Rain also sort of epically closed out a musical era. Mike Southon, the other cinematographer on the project, told the Los Angeles Times, quote, November Rain was a bit like the last of the dinosaurs before the meteorite, and the meteorite was grunge and everything that happened to the music industry after, end quote. So in that sense, it's a special look into the last bits of glam rock and its production capabilities in its final stages. And that, honeys, is our recap and review of Guns N' Roses' November Rain. I hope you've enjoyed your 5-minute musical. If there is anything that you are dying to hear about, please don't hesitate to send me suggestions. I'm always looking for the next new thing to cover for you all. Don't forget that we will continue to be producing episodes even into this month of December. If you're traveling or just simply want an excuse to have a little alone time, please don't hesitate to check those out. With all of my love, care, and happy holiday wishes, I'll remind you to keep hydrating or dehydrating, and we will talk soon. Our intro and outro music was created by Chris Meinhold, but yours truly, Celia Bugno, did everything else for our episode today, producing, hosting, editing, and fact-checking. Be sure to follow us wherever you stream and on social media.